Hey there, welcome to VCode's 100 Days of Coding Challenge. Today is day 11 and let's see the question number 2. So the question is, implement a Java program that focuses on exception handling. We need to create a scenario where checked and unchecked exceptions are encountered and demonstrate proper handling. So today's question is about the exception handling. And so the description is given: write a Java program with a method that may throw both checked and unchecked exceptions. Implement a try-catch block to handle these exceptions gracefully. Okay, so the input format is nothing, there is no input, and the output must be the relevant messages indicating the successful handling of the exceptions. And the constraints must be the method should throw at least one checked and one unchecked exception. The test cases, okay, so there is no input as mentioned, and the output must be exception code, custom checked exception, and the arithmetic exception. Okay, so basically what are exceptions? If something something is wrong in the code, so if some unexpected things are happening, like we can't divide by 0. So let's take an example. If I have given a number or two numbers and I try to divide a number by 0, then it's not possible. So that will lead to an exception, and that is called arithmetic exception. And similarly, we have many other exceptions in Java which we can handle using the try and catch blocks. So that is called exception handling. So this is exception handling. So there is a try block where we will where there is a possibility that that code might throw an exception, and if it throws an exception, the catch block will catch it. So this is how the try and catch block works in Java. So that is about the try and catch block and exception handling. So now coming to the part of checked and unchecked exceptions. So what are they? We have seen what are exceptions. Now there are two types of exceptions. One which occurs at the compile time is called the checked exception, and the one which occurs at the runtime are called unchecked exception. So the checked exception examples are like IO exception. So IO exception is a type like when we try to access some input file and the file is actually not present. That means there is an exception happening, right? For that, there is an exception called IO exception, which will be thrown at that point. So that is called a checked exception. Where about the unchecked exception is the exception which are found at the runtime, similar to which I have already told. The examples of unchecked exceptions are the arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, etc. So the null pointer exception is like when an object which is referring to null is being tried to use to call a method. So then it is a null pointer exception. You can go and check it out more in detail. So for this question, we have to create a method which would throw both the checked and unchecked exception. So from the examples I have told, we can take any of the exceptions and try to perform that. And we have to implement a try-catch block to handle those exceptions, those both exceptions. So let's quickly create a Java file. So first I will create exceptions.java file, and then I will write a main method. Okay, so public static void main and string args. So this is the main method. And now, so for the checked exception, so we have to create checked exception and unchecked, right? For the checked exception, I have decided that I want to go with the custom checked exception. That is an exception created by me. For that, I have to write a class for the custom checked exception. So for okay, so I will explain you. So I'll create a class called custom checked exception. So for writing this custom checked exception, we have to actually extend the class which is already present to make this custom checked exception, and the class present is exception itself. And if we wanted to create a custom unchecked exception, then we would have written runtime exception, because that exception is of runtime. But if it's not there, if it's only exception, then it is going to be a custom checked exception. Okay, so whenever we get a custom checked exception, so I will write a constructor here public custom checked exception, I would like to print custom checked exception occurred. So this is created by me. So now you can see this is my exception which I have created. So whenever this exception occurs, then this message will be printed. Okay. So whenever I throw that, that message would be printed. Okay. So now so in this main class itself, I'm going to write another method called public static void exception handling. And inside this, I will put some, so inside this, I will write code which may lead to this checked and unchecked exceptions. So checked and unchecked exceptions. So for the checked, I have defined it myself, but for the unchecked, I'm going to do arithmetic exception. I will take the same example where a number is something and another number is 0, and we try to divide it. So I will try to print x by y. So this would lead to the arithmetic exception which is of type unchecked exception. And there is another thing. So there is a keyword called throw in Java, so where we can explicitly throw an exception. So here I have written the custom checked exception. So I will throw that explicitly, that whenever this method is called, I want that exception to occur. So throw new. So I'm going to create an instance of this custom checked exception. So let us fix this. So what happened here? So we have to also mention that this method, there is a possibility that this exception may occur. Then only it is possible to throw exception. Okay, so there is also another exception, arithmetic exception. So I have written both. So there is possibility that arithmetic exception can occur and even the custom checked exception. Right. So now, so this arithmetic exception, as you know, is the runtime, and this custom checked is the compile time exception. So in the main method now, what shall we do? So I'm going to handle these exceptions using the try catch block. So try what I want to call. So I want to call this method which is exception handling, because there is a possibility that this method may give us exception. So I will catch it. So first of all, what exception do we have? Custom checked exception, and the object is E, and I'm going to print custom checked exception handled. So whenever this custom checked exception is handled, then whenever it comes to the catch block, then the print statement would be implemented, and then another catch block for the arithmetic exception. So for that also E. So this E is the object of this arithmetic exception, and I'm going to print that object itself. So I will write exception occurred, and that object would be having the details about what type of exception it is. So first of all, let me try to run and check what is happening here. So firstly, compile the file javac exceptions.java and java exceptions. So you can see as the first code is written here, we had got the arithmetic exception. So directly it is going to the arithmetic exception. So if I try to comment this out, and now if I run the file again, so firstly compile the file and then run it. So now you can see the custom checked exception occurred whenever the constructor was called, this message was printed, and then when it was handled, this message was printed. So why I had commented this is because first of all, whenever it is identifying this arithmetic exception, it had directly gone to the arithmetic exception block, and directly the exception was printed, and there was no chance that this code would have implemented. So that's why I have commented that. So in this way you can do exception handling. We had seen the differences between custom and non-custom exceptions, as well as checked and unchecked exceptions in this code. So that's it for this video. You can check out more types of exceptions and explore them. So that's it for this video. Do follow the 100 Days of Coding Challenge by VCode. Thank you for watching.